I'm Molly McKinley, EVP of Marketing at Relola, and today we are talking with Martin Morzynski from HouseCanary. So he's a CMO, so we're going to geek out a little bit about some marketing stuff.
That's right.
But for now, what does HouseCanary do? Give me your pitch.
So HouseCanary has been in the business of helping banks and investors figure out how much homes are worth and where their value is going in the future. So think about predicting where San Francisco or Chicago or even Kansas City are going in the future.
Yeah.
We help people figure out the future of home prices. Is that?
Yeah, that's so.
It sounds lofty, and by the way, it gets simpler, it gets more interesting for, I think, the realtor world as well, but we should talk about that.
Yeah, so like as marketers, right? That's actually the hardest thing that we have to do is take something that's pretty complicated and try to distill it into like a sentence, right? Or a napkin, right?
That's right.
And so Heather Jackson, our CEO, and I actually had that practice one day. We're like, how can we get this on a napkin?
Right.
So, yeah.
How would you? Are you asking me to get my spiel on a napkin? Are we?
No.
Or the Relola spiel on a napkin?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. But I'm doing. It's so hard though to get things simple, right? And this is one of the biggest challenges for the real estate industry and the realtor is like, how do you offer your value on a napkin? Like, what do you?
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, it's funny you say that because we're at the show this week.
Yeah.
And you're meeting all these people, and you have these ideas, and you start feeding off each other.
Absolutely.
And I've actually evolved my thinking about what HouseCanary does, and to some extent what Relola does, and our sort of collective place in this space. And it has a lot to do with bringing visibility. To the value of a home and the context of the lifestyle it creates. Of the value it has in the buyer's heart, because ultimately it's a very emotional purchase, right?
Yeah.
And to a large extent, buying a home has become about buying a lifestyle, buying those dinners you want to have with your family on Friday.
Yeah.
You want to see your kids play in the backyard, and you picture all these things happening.
Yeah, the community, yeah?
That's right, and that's not something you can pin down with a number.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you can let someone know that the value of what they're buying is also a fair value, the neighborhood is likely to appreciate in the future.
Yeah.
Right, that makes me feel a lot better about the investment I'm making for my family, right?
It sure does,
it's sitting down for that dinner, it's playing in the backyard, but hey, I'm also putting my money in the right place, and I know that I'm doing the right thing for my family. So there's a little bit of that common thread that I think exists between what you guys do and what we do.
I totally agree. And so one other thing that's really interesting that people may not know, but because we travel to so much of these trade shows, right? We really forge these unique friendships, and it's pretty interesting. So when we're out here, exhibiting, and our vendors are if I had $1 for every time an agent asked me, Molly, as a marketer, what should I do? Because there's a sea of providers and vendors here, and it's hard to sift through.
Right.
But what you're saying is actually really important. There's the critical piece of what Relola is solving, of trying to provide that context of your community, and then what HouseCanary is providing, and that's actually legitimate data about house value.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I think that for agents, it's really bringing both those elements, whether separately or together, right? Ultimately, the value that an agent brings is knowledge of the neighborhood, knowing everything about why this home is the right home for this particular couple versus the other home.
Yeah.
And what you guys do is you bring that sort of human lifestyle component.
Yeah.
And kind of we layer on this sort of the voice of reason that is also really important. But we ultimately think about realtors as advisors.
We do too, absolutely.
Right? And that's why the percentage of homes sold by realtors continues to actually go up as opposed to going down.
Yeah.
Is because, hey, it's a busy world out there.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something special. I can't always find that online. I need someone to guide me to it.
Absolutely.
And that's really ultimately the role of the realtor.
So you and I have a lot in common because we're both tasked with the same objective, basically building a real estate brand, right?
Right.
So we fundamentally know that, the individual agent is their own very small business. At the heart of what they are, they're their own brand too. So as a professional brand or marketer, what advice do you have to give them?
Gosh, so one thing, and I'll just sort of speak off the cuff and disagree with me as a marketer.
Okay, yeah. No.
But I tend to think that a lot of marketing is about having a singular voice.
Yeah.
Figuring out what you stand for.
Absolutely.
And finding ways every day of telling that story in different ways.
Yes.
But staying true to course.
Absolutely.
If you have, if you talk about yourself one way one day and another way the next day, you'll confuse
mean
people.
Nothing to anybody, right?
That's right. And I think just like we as individuals sort of ultimately know what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I'm going to geek out on purpose and other things, right?
Yeah.
We're all here for a reason. And I think, realtors know ultimately they're there to help people find great homes.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own niche, has their way of telling a story.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to get back to Relola on this one, but there is so much wealth right now in not just the home, but the neighborhood it sits in.
Yes.
All the amenities and the ability to walk to coffee and the ability to walk, hop on your bike and go somewhere, or be close to wherever you need to be close to. All of that is really as important as the home, because people are buying a lifestyle and not just a home, right?
I totally agree. So, when I'm giving agents advice, I'm always like consistency, repetitive, know who you are,
right?
Be your, don't try to be all things to everybody, because you will magnetize your audience to you.
That's
and
right.
It's really hard when we say things like be authentic and be relevant and all of that.
Right.
All of those are words are just
they're buzzwords.
They're buzzwords,
they're
right?
Buzzwords.
But essentially, what that means is say what you mean what you say.
Yes.
Show up.
Yes.
Know who you are, and communicate that clearly.
Absolutely.
And don't deviate from the message.
I think that's absolutely right. And I have to tell you, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about a realtor who sold my home to me in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And, I can't call her warm and fuzzy, and she's not necessarily about neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But she was really good about understanding what my family needed.
Yeah.
And making me feel good about showing me just the right place.
Yeah.
And giving me the confidence that these are places that are rock solid.
Yes.
They're going to hold their value.
Yes.
And that's what I remember, right? Is her kind of being that sort of beacon, that voice that kind of gave me the confidence to pull the trigger and feel good about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a place I loved, but a place that I knew had good bones and it was going to maintain its value, be a good investment, and all that sort of fun stuff.
What do you love most about being a part of the real estate industry?
I think I love the realization how much of a people business it is.
Yeah.
Right? And I think ultimately the way we all function, right? We're social beings, right?
Yeah.
Most of us love being around people.
Yeah.
And I think there's no other business like real estate that is as much of a people's business.
I totally agree.
Right? And it's easy to sort of miss that from the outside. But I think the most successful realtors are ultimately people, right?
I totally agree. And because I've done so many interviews, sort of the common thread for me is sort of this idea of like hospitality and service and really knowing that when they show up, they're providing value.
Absolutely.
So Mark,
that's right.
Any parting words, any words of wisdom for the agents out there?
Well, I'm not sure about wisdom, but there's one thing that struck me, and I've seen you guys here last year. I see you here now, and I'm seeing the evolution of this company and this brand.
Yeah.
And I came from a very different business. I used to work in the fashion business.
Oh, fun. Well, you can tell with your skinny jeans.
I'm not sure about that.
Your sprocket glasses. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm a data geek now.
Yeah, right.
But we built a business really on the back of Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And rewind 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They were still somewhat niche, particularly Instagram.
Yeah.
Now everybody's on it.
Yeah.
But Instagram ultimately is about telling stories.
Yeah.
And getting really visual.
Yes.
And what's happened is a lot of people are living their lives vicariously.
Yes.
Through the visuals they see on that platform.
Yeah.
And I think what you guys bring is the ability for realtors, buyers to tap into that emotional response they have and that connection with the lifestyle they want to live. A lot of it is aspirational.
Yes.
And that's why it's not just about the picture of a home and the map of where it sits, but it's about the lifestyle that you guys help create for the home and the neighborhood. And ultimately that's what makes people kind of pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I hate to go back to a platform that is, broad and for everybody. But like Starbucks, changed the way that we think about coffee. They kind of changed the way we think about, imagery.
Yes.
And now it's up to companies like you guys, right?
Yeah.
To some extent us.
Yeah.
To take it to the next level.
Well,
and bringing a very specific application. I'm
rambling. I know, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
me. I sincerely appreciate everything and our friendship too.
So nice to chat. Always nice to chat.
I know. Well,
Fantastic.
Martin from HouseCanary, and thank you so much.